Of our 17 writing prophets, well over half of them, and nearly all who speak to the people prior to exile, followed a fairly straightforward format. First, remind the people that they needed to repent. Remind them of where they are going wrong and warn them to turn back to God. Second, foretell punishment if the people don't listen. And third, remind the people that despite the punishment they will receive, there is a future hope in the Lord, that this won't be the end of the story. But if you open up many of the prophets, you can see that it can still be difficult to muddle through their writings. That's because many of them aren't structured narratively, like a story or chronologically, meaning that sometimes what we get is a collection of speeches or oracles that God gave a prophet over time. Sometimes they are in order, sometimes they aren't. While this can be frustrating when we want to read them as narratives, seeing these big, broad pillars of warning, judgment, and future hope help us to focus on the bigger picture. Remember, the big story that ties all of this together, the Bible, no matter where we open it, points to God's grace and His redemption plan for the world. Within the first big pillar of warning, repent, idol worship is number one on God's list of the ways in which the Israelites have broken their covenant with Him. Idol worship was common throughout the ancient Near East at this period of time in history. Cities would have their own patron gods and idols they would worship, almost the way that we worship sports teams today. There were household idols, gods who could help with fertility, crops, rain, gods that harnessed the power of lightning or the wind. I think it's easy to read the Bible and the incredible things that God did all laid out there in the pages and wonder how in the world the Israelites could have worshiped anything but God. But their context in many ways wasn't so different from ours. There were many competing gods and ideologies all vying for their attention and affections, all trying to become their idols. I sometimes wish I could go back in time or move to the country and pretend it's England in the 1800s, except with running water and electricity, of course, because I struggle with almost too many idols to count, and for me, most come in the form of distractions. Idol worship is blind admiration, adoration, or devotion to an object, item, or person. Blind admiration. To be really open with you all, that's an area where I struggle with blind admiration. I focus on blind because I'm not intentionally choosing social media or my busy schedule over God, but there it is, a black hole sucking in my time, attention, and shaping my desires. I won't intentionally put my phone down or guard our family time like I should because I spend so much time being reactive versus proactive. And with my focus diverted from God, instead of seeing how a reliance on Him can shape and guide my day, I get through each day instead relying on me, my talents, my efforts, my management of our lives. I rationalize my time online. I need to research for a book or a project. I need ideas for healthy meals or how to deal with my kids' crushes or their homework. Israel did the same thing. They just went through the motions and covered their bases with the household idols and sacrifices. But if we truly believe that God is mighty, that He is powerful, living, eternal, righteous, wise, maker of all things, then how do we, like Israel, slip so easily into idol worship? And I think it's simple. Just like the Israelites, we forget. We let ourselves be blinded with distractions that become idols because we don't take the time to reflect on and remember and look for God's activity in our lives. We don't write it on our door frames, pass it down to our children, meditate on it day and night. We forget. We push down our mistakes, our sin. We push back and drown out the voice of God. Both Judah and Israel, the Israelites, lost the law, and ultimately they lost their freedom in God. We may not face exile or the curses of Deuteronomy 28 today, but the result of turning to idols is the same. We lose our connection to God, and that hole, that space that's left, it's a void that nothing but God can fill. So what idol do you need to take down and replace with God?